boys in there, you know. Then they got a bunch of little guys too, and they just hang out together. As far as I know, they cluster with their own, their own kind, right? But you know, I don't think bats are particularly aggressive with each other most of the time. Not like in they don't go to war, you know. They might get a little ornery here and there, but whatever. Looking at bats. All right. Well, while that happens, let me look at what else we got here. Watch painting show or boat show or what here? I need something that's like long form, something that goes for a few minutes so that I can eat. We've been doing painting show for a bit. We do boat show again. Let's see what they got. So also, I'm considering multi-streaming to YouTube, by the way. I don't know if that's anybody else's damn that's preferable in some manner. But I've been thinking about it. Let's watch screaming. Oh, bats. I love bats. Alright. I just like bats, guys.
This is an American warship, the USS Pueblo. By itself, it's fairly unremarkable, a tiny converted cargo ship from the Second World War. America's really good at preserving its maritime history. There are some insanely impressive museum ships all over the place, like the USS Olympia and the battleship New Jersey in Philly, and the USS Constitution over in Charleston, Massachusetts. But to visit Pueblo, you'll have to take a little trip out east. A few thousand miles out east to North Korea. Pueblo is moored at a pier in Pyongyang, the capital, at a venue called the Victorious Fatherland Liberation War Museum. Once upon a time, Pueblo, the humble little 345-ton, 177-foot-long tin can, became the centerpiece of one of the Cold War's most dramatic moments. A crisis that raised the temperature at a time when massive world powers anxiously eyed one another with their fingers on nuclear buttons. Just how Pueblo...
Oh, and I got a sandwich. It's not, I don't know what it is. It's not a club sandwich. It's kind of close to it though. It's got turkey, it's got sausage, or not sausage. Yeah, sausage. Oh, salami. That's it. Turkey, salami, pork, or ham, chicken. It's got a lot of stuff on it. It's got lettuce, cheese, tomatoes, some kind of tasty sauce. I don't know. That's what I mean. It's a sandwich.
came to be moored here in North Korea is one of the great dramatic tales of Cold War espionage that's since entered legend. The unlikely story of an American spy ship taken intact by a technologically inferior enemy. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your friend, Mike Brady, from Ocean Liner Designs, and this is the incredible true story of the capture of USS Pueblo. January 1968. The Cold War is in full swing. Tensions are high. For nearly 20 years now, the Soviet Union has been building up a nuclear arsenal to rival the United States. But instead of open conflict and the inevitable nuclear Armageddon, wars are fought by proxy. First was Korea, when the US Army rushed to back the democratic South while communist Chinese troops flooded in from the north to drive them back to the sea. An uneasy ceasefire saw the country divided into two. By 1968, it was happening again at Vietnam. US forces, with their overwhelming air superiority, were still faced with a brutal war of attrition, fighting an enemy that knew their country very well. Unbeknownst to the US and South Vietnamese forces that January, North Vietnamese troops are finalizing preparations for an immense assault that will bring the fight to the streets of Saigon. Asia is a powder keg that threatens to set off the nuclear conflict all sides have been dreading. It's in the US's best interests to monitor the situation, but it's a vast front. Soviet and Chinese military activity spans thousands of miles from the Sea of Japan in the north all the way down to the South China and West Philippine Sea. Enter USS Pueblo, a technical research vessel officially, in truth, a well-equipped spy ship. Pueblo had begun life as a small cargo ship built in Wisconsin back in 1944, constructed as a standard freight supply vessel for the US Navy, named FS-344, but she found work instead as an armed training ship for the Coast Guard. By the mid-60s, the US Navy had found that small vessels just like FS-344 made for good surveillance craft. They were tiny and nimble, able to monitor from afar and leave virtually no footprint. FS-344 was recommissioned after a period of layup in 1966 and renamed Pueblo after a county in Colorado. To become a proper spy ship, though, Pueblo would need to undergo some serious modifications. She was put under the command of Captain Lloyd M. Bucher, a veteran submarine.
Okay, so Pueblo. I don't know for sure, and maybe there's. I mean, he does his research. He knows more than I do, but it's. I feel like it wouldn't be named after the Colorado County, and it would more be named after the the indigenous people, the Pueblos, right? Like that, the same place that the county got its name from, right? Uh, anyway,
Mariner who'd always dreamed of commanding his own boat. Unfortunately for him, the switch from diesel-electric to nuclear subs had killed his command prospects, and he was given Pueblo instead. The orders came, he said later, as a painful turning point in my career. Unhappy at the new appointment, Bucher still set about overseeing the little ship's overhaul at Bremerton in 1967. But off the bat, Pueblo and her skipper were put at a huge disadvantage. US defense spending was being sunk into the Vietnam War at an alarming rate. 1965 had seen the US spend about $54 billion, upped to a staggering $78 billion just 2 years later. At the time Pueblo was being converted, seemingly countless fortunes were being spent on sustained aerial bombing campaigns and troop movements on the ground. At sea, things were different. The Navy focused on their carriers and their destroyers. Pueblo and her mission were not a priority. The surveillance equipment alone came in at over $1.5 million. Its cost delayed Pueblo's conversion all by itself. After that, there was hardly anything left to finish her off, and it would have drastic consequences. For one thing, spy ships need to have contingency plans in case of capture. The crew need to be able to scuttle their ship quickly and easily, destroying delicate spy documents and their equipment at the same time. Pueblo got none of that. Scuttling would have to involve a sledgehammer to pound away at valves down in the bottom of the ship to open her up to the water. No real provision was given for quickly destroying classified documents either. Captain Bucher had to spend money meant for crew amenities on the most basic of incinerators. But worst of all were her defences. A pair of 50 caliber machine guns were provided, with fore and aft deck mounts, totally exposed. They were enough to ward off a small patrol craft, But the bridge and the critical communications officers were left completely unarmored. In the course of their training, some of the ship's crew fired just 5 rounds from the machine guns each. So it was that Pueblo set out as an AGER, Auxiliary General Environmental Research, ostensibly to monitor the ocean and its conditions, but in reality, a signals surveillance vessel. The AGER ships, like Pueblo, were tiny in comparison to other surveillance vessels like the AGTRs, employing about 1/4 the intelligence personnel of the larger vessels, but they were fast, nimble, and most importantly of all, they were cheap. Pueblo set off for the Korean Peninsula where it was thought US signals intelligence was most lacking. From the off, Pueblo was not a happy ship. Buka butted heads with his XO, who thought the captain was too easygoing. The situation devolved to the point where Buka would ignore his XO and go straight to his operations officer instead. Not only that, but tensions built up between the skipper and the head of the signals detachment on board, who needed to give permission for his men to be used for anything like firefighting, damage control, or even to set up watches. For an autonomous sub-commander like Buka, this command structure, having to ask for permission, was incredibly frustrating. Nearly half of Pueblo's crew had no experience at sea at all. In November 1967, Pueblo set out for Yokosuka, Japan via Hawaii.
It's almost
On
like
the way,
it.
she suffered some 60 steering malfunctions in just 8 days. While the ship was being repaired at Pearl Harbor, Captain Buka met with the top brass of the Pacific Fleet staff, who told him
Almost like it
in
was
no uncertain terms
meant
that if the little ship were attacked on their mission, there
to
was
fail.
nothing that could be done. En route to Japan, the ship was rocked by huge waves, even rolling up to 50 degrees from side to side, before her steering engine gave out completely. In for repairs, yet again, Buka raised concerns with the scuttling solution for his ship. The proposed solution, thermite charges that would essentially melt through the delicate equipment and then the ship itself, was rejected by the captain. I was just too afraid to put it on there, he said. At last, Pueblo had her sailing orders to leave base on January 5th,
A little
and
fair.
proceed to an operational area a few days later on the 10th through the Strait of Tsushima and monitor communications of Chongjin, Hamhung, and Wonsan, maintaining a distance of no less than 13 nautical miles from the coast. I was proud of this ship, said Commander Buka, and I was ready to go. I wanted to get out there and get this job on the road so that we could get this experience behind us. Underway at last, after years of preparation and months of conversion work, Pueblo was finally off on her mission. Admiral Frank Johnson, commander of Navy Forces Japan, said that, quote, I personally made the initial determination that risk would be minimal, since Pueblo would be operating in international waters during the entire operation. Specifically, in evaluating the risk, 3 key factors weighed heavily in the final decision. 1. Pueblo operates throughout the mission in international waters. 2. Low level of Korean naval activity at sea in January and February. And 3. The complete lack of any North Korean reaction to the USS Banner's presence off North Korean coast on 2 occasions, one of which it loitered off Wonsan for about 1.5 days. Secretly, though, the NSA had concerns of a Korean response to Pueblo's presence offshore. They decided against informing the Navy because senior NSA officials were afraid the agency would be seen to be overstepping. A weak warning message was sent highlighting signs of North Korean aggression and possible response, but it was ignored by the Navy officials. Pueblo, unprepared, tense, and vulnerable, was motoring straight into disaster. Hugging the coast to avoid visual detection by nearby Soviet ships, Pueblo entered the Sea of Japan on January 12th, where she was immediately met with a monster storm that kept her tied up for 2 days. Finally, on station, Buka reiterated their orders not to approach shore within 13 miles. During daylight, Pueblo would hover around 14 or 15 miles offshore, while at nightfall she'd motor out in excess of 30 just in case. It was not a happy patrol. 2 generators blew up, and frigid temperatures blasted the ship, coating her in ice up to 2 inches thick. The crew, of course, had
Damn.
to chip it all off, especially from the specialized antennas and the equipment up top. We had trouble with water all the time, said one mate. The bilge pump was backing up or something, and I'd wake up in the morning sometimes and find everything floating around the deck. Ostensibly, the intelligence detachment aboard, comprised of 4 Morse code interceptors in the collection branch, 12 in the technical branch who handled intercepts of